everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my January wrap-up video. I ended up reading 5 books this month. It's not my best month, but I'm actually really happy with the number of books that I've read and the quality of the books that I've read. If you follow me for a little while, then you'll know December was a really hard month for me, like personally, especially the ending of December. So I was not in a reading mood at all, and obviously that transpired in the beginning of January. But I am back in a reading mood, so I'm really happy about that. And I'm also back in a YouTube mood. So I'm really hoping I can put up 2 videos a week this year. I'm really hoping I can do it. I really am trying to plan for it and really sticking to my plan. So if you're not subscribed, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. It would make my day. And without further ado, let's get started. In no particular order, really, the first book that I want to talk to you guys about is going to be On the Way to the Wedding by Julia Quinn. This is the last book in the Bridgerton series. So I finished all of the Bridgerton books this year, well, last year and this year, and I am so happy that I did. I'm so glad that I finished this series. They were all so good. This is Gregory's storyline, and honestly, I was really intrigued and kind of nervous to get into Gregory's storyline because we don't get to see him a lot in the previous book. Normally Julia Quinn does a great job at making us excited for the next book, but with this one she didn't really do that. And so I started this book kind of nervously. I didn't really know what to expect, but I ended up falling in love with this book. Like I said, this is Gregory's storyline, and then one day he kind of falls in lust with this girl named Hermione, but Hermione is already engaged with some other guy, and Hermione has a best friend named Lucy, and Lucy is not up for that engagement. So she is trying to set up Hermione and Gregory together, and while doing that they fall in love. So basically this is Gregory and Lucy's romance book, and guys, this was so freaking cute. I love this one so much. I love how this is a friends to lover romance, which is normally not my thing, but this did it really well. I just loved seeing their relationship grow, and I just loved seeing them becoming friends and then becoming lovers. I thought this book did it really well. I love the friendship between Lucy and Hermione as well in this book, and I also love the friendship between Gregory and Hyacinth in this storyline. Hyacinth and Gregory are kind of the forgotten siblings almost, I feel like, in this story. We don't get to see them as much in the other books, so seeing them together and seeing their relationship was really nice to see. And also, one thing that was really cool in this book is we got to see the older sibling in their like new life and their new established life, so with their wife and their kids, because obviously this book takes place a few years later than the first few books. So we get to see Anthony and like Daphne kind of older with their family and their children, which I thought that was really nice to see. This was just such a great conclusion to the series. It was just so good. All of the Bridgerton books were amazing. I highly recommend this series if you guys want to get into historical romance. I think they're all really good, and also the second season is coming up on Netflix very soon, so it is the perfect time to pick this series up. They're all quick reads, super fun. I really like this series, so go pick it up. Another romance book that I read was One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I read this one because I did read a first chapter of a few books, and this is the one that I picked up with another book that I haven't finished yet, but we're not going to talk about that. So this was so good, guys. Casey McQuiston is the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue that I read last year. I love that book, and so when she came out with this book last year as well, I picked it up and I got really excited about it. But people, from what I remember, people were not loving this book as much. So I kind of went into it with some reservation and some lowered expectation, but I love this one. I love this one so much. This is a female romance book with time travel. Like, how fun is that? Basically, this is a story about a girl named August, and she's moving to New York to start school. Basically, she just switched school, and so and then she meets this girl on the subway, and it's kind of love at first sight. She sees the girl and she's like, oh my god, she is beautiful, I love her. But quickly she realized that she could only meet this girl on the subway because, and I suck with name, because Jane is stuck on the subway and we don't know why. And that's their love story, and that's where the story picks off. But there was so much more to this story than the actual romance, which is one thing that I love about romance book. I love it when there's more than the romance aspect. I love it when we see more of them. I loved the friendship in this book. I loved August's roommate, and I love how they all got a little arc and a little storyline as well. It made for a much more realistic story because every character in this book gets a little storyline. So it's not just about the two main characters. We got some backstory on everyone, and it was so much fun. We basically only follow August's point of view in this book, so we get to know Jane as August like gets to know her, and as Jane's open up to August, and I thought it was really nice to see. I thought the relationship and the romance aspect was really well done. This was so good, guys. I love the like thrillery aspect in this book as well. This is not a thriller, but because of August's mom and dad storyline, we got a little bit like Lizzie McGuire feel to this book, which was so nice to see. I will say the ending I love and don't love. I'm not gonna tell you exactly how I felt about it because I feel like telling you my feeling about the ending is kind of spoilery almost, but I will say it was a cute ending and I liked it. I just not sure, I'm not sure how I feel about the ending. It was a good ending. It was a good book overall. I don't know, but I love this book. It's a pretty big book too. Like for a romance book, it's like over 400 pages. So I'll keep my fantasy book for last, I think, and I'll go with the only thriller book that I've read this month, and it is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I picked this book up because my loan at the library was expiring, and they had like, I think like more than 10 people on the wait list, so I knew I was not going to get the loan back very soon. So I picked it up right there and I read it so quickly. I read it in 2 sittings. It is a really short book and like the font is really big, but I got sucked into this book so bad. It was so good. It's such a like weird story. This is about a couple who it's their last chance to rekindle the romance between them, so they go on a weekend getaway. It's their way to try and save the marriage. And so that's the present, and then we also get every other chapter letters from the wife that she wrote every anniversary, because they basically celebrated their anniversary with the like classic gift, so like paper and like tin and I don't know exactly what. So we get letters from the past from the wife, which I really like that because it made us really understand where they're coming from and really understand like their backstory, and it made us, since they were married for like almost 10 years, so we really got to follow them for all these years, and it made for the twist and turn in this book to be so good. I did not see them coming. There's so many twists and turns in this book as well, and they are like shocking and surprising, but they're not out of the blue like this makes no sense. They made sense when you look back to it. The husband in this book has a face blindness. Basically he cannot recognize faces, which was such a cool concept. It just added a really cool element to the book, which, I mean, guys, I love this book so freaking much. Go read it. I know like a lot of people loved this book when it first came out. It's such a quick read. I want to read more from Alice Feeney now. Highly recommend this book. It was so good. Go read it. So now let's go to the 2 fantasy books that I've read this month, and this is The Girl in the Tower by Katherine Arden. This is the first book that I've read in 2022. This is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy, and I love this book so freaking much. I really enjoyed the first book. I thought it was so atmospheric and so like whimsical, but like creepy whimsical at the same time. I just love the first book, but honestly this was even better than the first book in my opinion. It's very different too. Like it has a very different feeling to the book. The first book follows this girl named Vasya, and basically she is able to see the mythical creatures from her like childhood stories. Like she's the only one that can see it, and that's kind of the storyline. Like I said, this felt different. We are still following Vasya, but we are following some other characters in this book. Also, the world expanded in this book because the first book she's basically in her little village, and that's the majority of the storyline. In this, she travels in a bigger city, so the world expanded. We got more points of view in this book, and I love this book so much. I just thought it was so much fun. I love Vasya and Morosco relationship. I'm kind of hoping for a romance. Am I the only one? Maybe. But it was really, really good. It felt, I said that in the really chapter tag, but I feel like all of these books kind of have a standalone feeling-ish. You can read them and like the story kind of feels complete. There is like a bigger storyline, obviously, so you kind of understand why it's a trilogy, but all of these books you can kind of read the storyline kind of wrap up. But I do really, really want to read the third book. It is in my February TBR. I love this series. It was so good. Highly recommend. And so the last book that I have to talk to you guys about is going to be The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I read this book because it was Ian's Out of This World Reader series read along on his Discord, and so that's why I picked this book up. And also it was on my TBR for like the longest of time, so I really wanted to read it, and I'm so happy I read it. Another really, really good book. I love this book so much. It was everything that I expected and also nothing that I expected. People say how this book is like very dark and it's war inspired and it's almost grimdark. It has a different feel to it, and I totally agree. But I will say the first 40% kind of felt YA-ish in my opinion. This is the story about a girl named Rin, and basically she takes this test in the beginning of the story so she can go to this school where she's gonna learn to be a soldier, kind of. And so the first half, well, the first 40% of the book is kind of her at that school and like training and meeting new friends and people, and so it kind of felt YA-ish in my opinion. And I was sitting here like, this is not very dark. Like people say this, you should check out trigger warnings to this book, and I was like, why? Like there's nothing happening that is dark and like disgusting. But then the 40% mark hits and it completely changes, and I can totally understand why people say maybe check out some trigger warnings to this book. Like I said, it is grimdark. There are some graphic scenes to this book. It never felt unnecessary in my opinion. It never felt like too much. I never felt like it was put in there for like shock value. I always kind of understood why those graphic scenes were in the book. I really liked Rin as a character. She was so flawed but like relatable at the same time. Even though you don't understand and don't agree with a lot of her decision, the author did a really good job at making us understand why she is making those decisions. So I didn't get as frustrated as some other people did towards Rin, because I always understood where she was coming from and why she was taking those decisions. She is a very complex character and I loved her really, really much. I really loved all of these characters in the book. I thought it was really, really well done. Honestly guys, highly recommend this book. I cannot wait for the second book. It is on my February TBR, and so I will pick it up in February, hopefully. But honestly, highly recommend the first book. It was so good. One last thing, I loved the god aspect to the storyline. I love the like magic system, I should say, or like world in this book. I thought it was really fun, and how the poppy aspect was incorporated in all of that as well. I just love this book. It was so good, so well done. Highly recommend. Go pick it up. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. These were all of the books that I've read this month. Have you read any of them? I would love to know in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on them, or if you are maybe thinking of picking them up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day or night depending on you're watching this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!
I can't believe that you came into my life. You made me feel again. Now it's my